So I cannot see you, but are you all still alive? Okay, good. I know Italians without coffee is difficult, right? There was only water outside. So thank you, first of all, to Maria and team for inviting us here to share a bit insights about sustainability. Second of all, congratulations with 20 years of anniversary. Fantastic, right? And thirdly, thanks to the translators in the back. You do a fantastic job. So I've just been in US. And I was in Vegas last week. I also was there with my company and for the exhibition, and also speaking at a certain event. And I must admit, even though I cannot see you because of all the lights here, you look fantastic. If you can imagine, I came into this room and everybody was just in a polo shirt and Snickers, it would be two different worlds. So I just want to say, you Italian people, you look fantastic. And that's the reason why I have an Italian wife. Good. So all of this about sustainability. There's a lot of different mindsets around it. And I have none if it's right or wrong, like our first speaker this morning. I can only say that hurricanes and storms, heat waves, floodings, droughts, wildfires, they seem to come to the news each day I turn on the television. If it's in North America, in China, in Europe, or wherever it is. I unfortunately see it, and it seems to have a correlation between the temperatures that we see on our planet, right? Right now, we have a plus versus the industrial time of 1.5, which was actually the goal for mid of this century. Right now, UN is expecting this to be between 2.7 and 3 degrees more. So I don't know where it's coming from, but there might be a correlation. And that's why the automotive industry globally is roughly 10% of all CO2 pollution in the world. 10%, it's a lot. You heard earlier there is different polluters. China is the biggest, US is the second biggest, India is the third biggest, and Europe in itself is only 10% of all of that. But nevertheless, the automotive industry is 10%. So what we have decided within FIGI-EFA and CLEPA, the two organizations for aftermarket value chain in Europe, is to look a bit about what can we actually do? Can we help the planet? Can we help our industry to become better and leaner in whatever we do? There's also money in it. It's not only to do it on a practical way. If you can do things leaner, there's money in it for everybody. If you can have it as a competitive advantage, there is opportunities to gain market shares. So it's something that has something for all of you in the room, also here, as a takeaway after this. I have two presentations. I have one about FAAS, what we do, why we are there, what we can offer. And a second one from my own company, BorgWarner, where I'm going to give you some practical examples of how it's being utilized. So let's get started, guys. Are you ready? Good. So in Europe, this is really boring, okay? But there is a huge landscape of legislative frameworks set up. And what I can tell you is it's really difficult, even for people that have tried to understand it. So we have a lot of experts that are trying to help us understand it. And that's where we say it's too difficult, so let's try to understand how we can do it practical. And I can tell you everything about circular economy is just in your backyard. It's everything from the manufacturers, from the distribution side, and from the garages, because you need everything back, right? So that's a key one. Everything around you, how you calculate, how you produce parts, the environmental footprint is just spot on. Everything around sustainability reporting, which unfortunately is a necessary evil that the European Commission have decided, and it's not going away. It's something that most of us will have to follow, and that's why we're also going to focus on this. But FAAS as a glance is we're a non-profit organization. So I'm speaking for you here. I don't get money for it. I do it out of pure passion because we believe there's a good way to help people within the industry by adding knowledge to them. So we have 5 working groups that we are working on right now. We have a study on the contribution of sustainability within the aftermarket. I come back to that. We have on circularity. We have on carbon footprint calculation. We have on optimization of supply chain. And we have on sustainability reporting. All really relevant topics where everybody can add to and learn from. Here you see some of the members today. It's growing day by day. And in the end, I will also recommend for you, if you're not already part of it, then be part of it, because we need a lot of active stakeholders to broaden it into the industry we work in. So who are we? We are a network of experts, but also individuals. So don't be afraid if you're not an expert, does not mean that you cannot contribute. We also represent the entire industry. We represent manufacturers, wholesale distributors, and garages. All of it is the value chain within automotive aftermarket. So what is it that we try to generate? We are trying to generate an exchange platform for all the members and even beyond, because it does not help that we only use it as competitive advantages for companies. We want really also to do something for ourselves, for our children, and for our grandchildren. So whatever small effects we can do can help you and can help all of us. So what is it we do? We try to define and put scope on what is sustainability for the industry. We can make guidelines, but I prefer to make recommendations for the garages, wholesale, and suppliers of how to become more sustainable in your day-to-day work. As well as some of the companies also have board of directors, where it's a good way when you are in sustainability and you do something good, it often pays off when you go to the bank to get your next loan. So all of it is something that is value add for many companies. Who do we engage with, right? I mentioned it before, workshops, suppliers, distributors, and we want you to see what the pain points are in the industry so that you can learn from it and you can take something away that you can use in your own business. We want on the longer, mid to longer term, achieve and promote sustainability as a part of the business model for aftermarket. It does not mean that we are going into Brussels, but as Kleber, as a member of our organization, they can take the learnings of what we do, what we find out, to give it to the lobbyist within Kleber, and they can bring it up, because sustainability is getting more and more attraction and attention wherever you go today. We also try to help contribute to resource savings and efficiency within aftermarket. Efficiency means normally you save money somewhere that you can use for something different, right? We all want to do that. We all want to make sure that we become more profitable. And we also know all of the people in this industry, we have an average that is maybe 40 years plus, right? When you go to Google, it's 20 years plus. So we want to attract some of these young people, and they have always seen this industry as an old, dirty industry. Who wants to work with cars? But on the other side, if we can make it attractive, that we can make the environment a small portion better, then it might be also something that attracts talents for the aftermarket. So the work group 1, we are trying with a study to understand at what point in time, how long can you still repair a car, and does it save CO2 versus bringing a new car into the environment, right? It's close to being finished, and at our sustainability day, which I will speak to shortly, we will show the results of this survey. Additional, we had a group, remanufacturing. We have reorganized it into calling it circularity, because you saw the list of elements under circularity. And this is really something where we want to understand what is today on reman, everything about the guidelines of how to secure the cost that you need to rebuild something, to take it out instead of producing new. It is the physical handling. It's the communication around it, because also reman, it's complicated. It's something about a core. You have a financial benefit or disadvantage. and you need to get it back into the system, right? So we are trying to find ways of making that also more simplistic for all the stakeholders in the industry so that we all can get more remanufactured components out there. One of the elements under sustainability that I will come to later is ELV, End of Life Vehicle Directive. And that directive is basically telling that in the future, a new vehicle from a car manufacturer has to be produced with around 30% of an old vehicle content. So there can be a huge business model in how do you get that old material back to the car manufacturers. So these are things that we are also looking into and can make recommendation for. The work put 3 is around carbon footprint. How do you measure? How can you say that this product is green or not? I can tell you today as an OEM manufacturer, you do not get a quote only talking about what is the price that you have to find or reach when you are quoting. You also have to have a CO2 gram in a lifetime of a product. Meaning, if you don't know that or if you cannot substantiate it, think about it like this. A car manufacturer needs to put a lot of parts together and then calculate what is his scope 3 out of that calculation. So if one manufacturer have a product that is costing 100 and another have a product costing 100, that OEM most likely will choose the product with the lowest CO2 pollution, right? So these are calculations that are coming, and at the next step is that we as manufacturers, we have to give that information down the value stream to the distributors so you know what is good for you to purchase versus others. But again, there is a gap of probably 10 years before we can do that properly for all new products. The next one we are talking about is sustainability, sustainable logistics, right? And clearly we know, especially on the distribution side within the automotive aftermarket, logistics is the most costly topic, but it's also where you pollute most. So if you can stop doing 15 turns with a truck each day and only do 10 or 5 and still satisfy clients, it might be really good both on your petrol or diesel usage as well as for the environment, right? So we are coming also with some ideas of what to do, as well as we are looking on packaging and other topics within logistics. What is coming to us is, as said, the work group 2 is now going into circular economy and dismantling of parts, end-of-life handling of components, end-of-life vehicle regulation requirements, because you also have to track and trace where old cars are going before they're being scrapped in the future. And how do you do recycling? So my company, for example, is also doing batteries. And it's truly difficult to separate a battery down to all the different components. But over time, you can find a way of shredding it, putting it into materials, and then separate the materials. So all of these things are also things that we are talking about in these work groups, how to get this better out there and how we can utilize it more. On the sustainability reporting, which will cover probably most of the people in this room, latest in 2028, we are looking at what is the sustainability reporting all about, how can you take a stab at it, what is it you have to focus on. Each company is individual, and you have to do it by yourself. But what is the strategy and communication around it you have to apply to be able also to fulfill the local requirements? And honestly, this is one of the things I don't like, but there's actually a penalty in the future if you don't do it. So not from us, but from the local governments around in Europe. We also go into deep dive of the requirements of data and information, right, for CSRD, and how you're going to do that, right? And we are trying to give you guidelines of how you can exchange that within your company, within other companies, within different countries, and maybe even different industries, so that everybody will have a good chance of doing this right. As I mentioned, we have a sustainability day. It's a week after next in Stockholm. And I think on LinkedIn, there is a lot of opportunities to sign up for it. We have around 150 people signed up already. but I would like to get it to 300, so let's see how we get there. But this is a good way to meet people that already are in that journey, as well as new people that maybe would like to learn about it. So that is just my recommendation, and I'm sure from Maria you will also get these, some of these slides at least. And the same as with FAAS, if you want to join us in our activities, I would gladly welcome you. By the way, for those of you that are here tonight, I will also be here, and you are welcome, of course, to come and ask questions. So let's drive it up a bit to a more practical approach. So I am Vice President and General Manager of BorgWarner, and I'm always proud to speak for my company because we have done what we just talked about in FAAS for the last 10 years. So BorgWarner, we are around 14 billion and 40,000 employees. But what is important is 87% of the products we produce today, they are energy or emission reducing or with no emissions. So that's something that really helps the car manufacturers when they have to choose for their next vehicle. We have a vision that is saying a clean, energy efficient world, and we actually have had that vision already since 2013, so for 11 years before sustainability came on the radar for many different companies around the world. We have a portfolio that is interesting, and we talked about is electrification going fast or not? What is the product portfolio going to impact what you actually are doing in terms of Scope 3? And we have a firm and very strong internal combustion engine portfolio. So I don't need to speak about it, but we are known for transmission and turbos and a lot of other things. But all of these products can also be used for hybrid, which is great. Since 10 years, we have invested into the e-mobility, and we have now also what we call from grid to wheel of products within that. And all of these products can also be used for electrification, so for hybridization. So whatever the market is going, the products we produce will be reducing CO2 in the future. This slide you cannot read, and I'm also just going to tell you, we have within sustainability, it's not only about your operations. So one thing is your environmental side. That's what you produce, how you sell it, and so forth. You also have a social aspect. That's your people, it's your ethics, it's your health and care, and all of that. And you have governance, meaning that's your supply chain, that's your cybersecurity, and everything around it. So these are things, don't limit it only to environmental. Sustainability is much more. And I just want that you think about that. So if you want to do something, you cannot read it either, so don't worry. But what I have learned in my business life since 28 years is, if you measure something, you can improve it. And whatever you are going to do under sustainability, you have to measure it. Otherwise, you have no idea of if you're going to improve or not. And I give you just a few things. 87% is emission-reducing product that we produce. We have reduced our Scope 1 and 2 since 21 with 43% within the company. We have on the people side, we have 30% of our employees that are female. We have a target of 35. And we have pay equity between female and male within the company of 99.7%. And then we have done trainings and whatever for our people to ensure that they are up to date with the latest and greatest. And I heard trainings were important on some of the other presentations earlier today. So what is it we are doing in our operations? It's very simple. You have 3 pillars. It's to reduce energy consumption. It is to procure zero emission energy. And if you cannot do it yourself, you can purchase it, right? It's very simple, but it all has something to do with how you drive your business. And everybody in this room can do it. So we have provided a decarbonization toolbox that we have created for all of our factories to look at how is the operation run. Are there low-hanging fruits that we can change, upgrade in machinery next time we anyway have to change, to reduce the energy consumption. We also have put a bonus in for all of our employees for achieving goals that we are setting. So it's not only a Michael Bow goal, it's a company goal for 40,000 employees. We also have smart meters that are measuring everything we do in terms of energy consumption, if it's water, if it's waste, and so forth. And we have made sure that all of our facilities are getting ISO 50001, which is the energy management standards, implemented in all of our manufacturing facilities. Out on the right, you can see some of our good things. We're also trying to see that we can put solar panels onto most of our facilities, right? Here's only a few of them, and we are going to continue. Now we come to the very difficult topic. That's Scope 3. Scope 3 is what happens after you have produced a product. And it's, first of all, extremely difficult to measure. So what you see on the right side of the screen here is, what is it that we can influence, right? We can influence the products we produce because they have an immediate impact on the Scope 3. We can influence the suppliers we buy from. What is it we are going to buy? Who are we going to buy for? Are these suppliers also sustainable in the way that we would like them to be sustainable? We can look at our product designs. Are these designs making clever enough that you can remanufacture it or you can recycle it? What materials are you using for it, right? And then clearly you see that the grid in itself is improving significantly. So what is it for energy that is coming out? And now I give you a figure just from Germany, but 65% of all the energy produced in Germany and used in Germany is coming from renewable energy sources. So things are slowly but surely changing. It's not where it should be today, but it's getting there. Just that you see some of the products, right? So you see that 13% is coming from non-emission reducing products, but 87% are coming from emission reducing products. So it's the product, what it does in an engine or in a vehicle, it's how it's produced, it's which vehicle it's going into, and so forth. So there is a lot of ways that manufacturers like us can influence sustainability going forward, and especially Scope 3. So I'll just end with one slide, and you cannot read it either, so don't try. But you can look at your product portfolio. What is it you are doing, right? And you can look at how can I get hybrid or electrification or non-emission products into my portfolio. Second of all, you can go to your suppliers, you can ask them for green aluminum, green steel and iron core, as well as other suppliers' emissions. Because why should you be the only one trying to do something when they also can help the whole situation? And then on the product design, you have everything about the batteries that we produce, the recycled materials that we can bring back into the circularity and reuse. You can even think of a product that you produce. How can you make it lighter than you do today? So you lightweight it, so you use less material. And then dear to my heart is remanufacturing, right? So remanufacturing, how you get a product back into life, you reuse 70% of it, so you only fill in 30% to bring a new product to field. So with that said, I hope I could get just some of your attention, some of your focus for sustainability, and how we all can make a difference. So thank you.